YellowTelescope's YellowTelecast, the best practices for the best practices, providing the medical industry's best practices, the medical industry's best practices since 2008. Are you a doctor? Do you work for a doctor? Do you want to earn more, be more efficient, retain your team, hire for success, or just want to have a better lifestyle? I bet you do. What should you expect from the podcast? A lighthearted, casual, fun, hopefully funny, informative, impactful, well-founded look at the medical industry from a pair of passionate, competent, confident, experienced, talented, unquestionably good-looking industry leaders, men of the Renaissance, if you will, and even if you won't, who have hired, trained, and overseen some of the nation's top medical practices while enjoying Scotch whiskey, world travel, music, single malt Scotch whiskey, fine dining, not fine dining, family, art, Ryan bourbon whiskeys, and maintaining an absolutely perfect track record of growing practices by between $100,000 and over $1 million within the first year every damn time. Listen to the podcast, and for more on how Yellow Telescope can help grow your practice, visit YellowTelescope.com for upcoming events, published articles, recorded speeches, past issues of our complimentary email newsletter, testimonials, and more.
Cheers.
Feels like just yesterday.
I'm excited to hear about that one.
See what's happening there?
Shall we?
Yes.
All right.
Welcome.
To the...
17th annual. No, I don't know.
I think it's got to be the 15th.
This is the 15th. Unbelievable.
Yellow Telescope, YellowTelecast, Best Practices for the Best Practices podcast.
That's right. Coming to you live and recorded from the fabulous beach of Miami. It's Miami Beach. Here we are back again. We're home for once, which is nice.
Yeah, you know, I try when in Miami to only record from a rooftop.
That's right, generally.
It's where I conduct all business and all pleasure. Everything's on a roof. Where's the pool? On the roof. Where's the bar? On the roof.
That's right.
Where's your offices? Rooftop.
Usually rooftop.
Yeah, I actually do come home on the occasional day and sit upon my rooftop terrace and contemplate life and enjoy a sweet scotch.
Contemplative terrace.
Yeah, the old
Indeed.
Contemplative Temple.
That's right.
Returning circa podcast 2.
I think that was number 1.
It's possible.
Yeah, check it out, by the way. Things have really, really come a long way, we think.
In other ways they haven't.
They've either progressed or regressed. We're not sure. Leave us your comments in the comments section.
Troll us, guys. Troll us. So, episode 15, we're going to be diving in today. Interesting topic. What are we talking about?
Well, you know, we've been thinking a lot about some recent clients and the feedback we've gotten from other practices about how to actually change culture within the practice and within an office. And I think this is actually going to turn into a multi-part topic. But today is mostly going to be talking about how to effectively change the culture within an office, but particularly with those in the staff that are giving a little bit of resistance.
Excellent. So I'm excited about that. We're going to dive in a little bit on how to improve that culture, and we're going to call it part 1 in an unnumbered series. It could be part 1 of 1 or part 1 of 4. We've got a lot to cover. We'll see what we get done here. Usually, though, before we do that,
typically
we like to have a little bit of whiskey, and we've selected a couple of Summers whiskeys, would you say?
Indeed.
A midsummer's whiskey, even though it's barely May here. And
yeah.
And the reason we did that, even though summer doesn't really come into June 21st, is, well, summer's here.
Yeah, it's here with a vengeance. We realized suddenly, what was it the other day? I think, didn't you snap it or something?
Yeah, I actually looked at my weather app.
Yep.
And it said it's 95 degrees, bear in mind essentially June 1st, not even summer. Which, look, that's for Floridian, that's, just like an A- is sort of a me F. 95 is just that's cool weather with a gentle breeze.
Yeah,
but
absolutely, it's a white Christmas.
What do you call it? The wind chill, the feels like.
The feels like temperature.
Yeah, it said 95, but it feels like 110.
That's right. That's
so,
right. Of course, we always joke when we're in Vegas, it's fine. It's a dry heat.
Yeah, this was 110 and not dry.
No,
it was
about 90% humidity.
It's muggy.
That's
very
right.
muggy. So we figured let's try something that can go with a nice summer's evening.
Yep.
That's going to pair well with heat and sweat.
Because really what you want when it's 100 degrees is a tall glass of whiskey neat.
I do. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
Yes. But maybe a couple of cubes in there.
At least when it's on the lighter side,
Yeah, versus the heavily peated. So we're going to finish with a light peat, but we're going to start with this. So with that said, it's just really, really hot out.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds of, we were in the Bayou recently, Nolan's.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Oh, yeah. That's right, you were.
Yeah.
Did what, Jazz Fest?
We did Jazz Fest, which was great. We caught the Red Hot Chili Peppers drumstick. My wife was front row. We met them at dinner at my favorite restaurant in all of America, arguably, Giacomo's.
Amazing.
Over a watermelon mojito.
Yep.
The only drinks I'll drink outside of whiskey. Just fantastic. So yeah, it was an amazing trip. But it's hot there too. Really hot here. Upon coming back, what we decided to do is just name ourselves.
Yeah, it's right. Sort of as if we were turn of the 20th century, southern, right in the smack middle of the bayou gentlemen.
Before air conditioning.
Pre-AC.
When you had to still wear a suit every day.
That's right. Wool, 3-piece wool suit.
In
and
the
hat.
bayou.
And hat.
Yeah, it's that hot here, and so we just renamed ourselves. You named yourself
Samuel Waterston.
And I have become Kennesaw Buford Ambersmith.
At your service.
It's that hot.
That's right.
When you get that hot, you can't be named John. You have to be named Kennesaw.
Kennesaw and Buford Ambersmith. It's really rolled
Jill
off
got
the tongue.
renamed a Chastity Briarthorne.
Chastity Briarthorne.
What did John Barry become?
He was Armstead Helmsworth.
Armstead Helmsworth?
Of the Buckhead Helmsworths.
It's Savannah hot.
It's
legit.
that hot.
So let's talk a little about the whiskey. We've got 3 little things to try today. What's the first? This is a very special one.
Yes, I've been hanging on to this one for a few months now. You know, I like to make sort of an annual, semi-annual, biannual, oftentimes pilgrimage really to the Vom Fast in Sarasota, Florida.
Yeah, we talked about that in previous podcasts. The Vom Fast, sort of a chain, but not a chain of like amazing tiny whiskeys.
That's right. Look it up. Incidentally, go to a franchise or open your own.
Yeah,
They're accepting
there's a new one in Boca Raton.
That's right.
Vegas at the Venetian, etc.
Yep.
So what do we get from Vom Fast?
This one is an 18-year-old Glengoyne, sort of a one-off, which is sort of their typical, where they find the hard-to-find cask, bring it back, bottle it, hand label it.
It's a Highland?
Yes.
So usually you get maybe just a touch of peat. This does not have many parts per million. Probably 0 or very few.
A little bit different than the Ardbeg. Nice shirt, by the way.
Yeah, incidentally, that was fun. We got to enjoy Ardbeg Night, one of our favorite nights of the year here in Miami.
Hashtag it. Hashtag Ardbeg Night.
Shout out to Ardbeg and Miss Julia Brown of brownbuzz.com.
That's right.
Who put the event together. It was really, really awesome. They had virtual reality machines you could see. They just introduced the brand, and one of the first people in the country to try the new Ardbeg Dark Cove.
Yep.
Which is not my favorite, but it did lead me to picking up a bottle of the Galileo, which is, I think, Ardbeg Day 2012, one of the last bottles in America of that.
Got myself a bottle of the Ardbog, 2013.
Delicious. One of my favorite Ardbeg bottles, the Ardbeg Ardbog.
Yep.
And I went to their event, and all I got was this lovely t-shirt and a beautiful glass and a great water dropper and a great meal, and so it was a lot of fun. So,
memories to be had.
It's been a whiskey-filled week, which is always fun. Whiskey Wednesdays, as it were, with Women Who Whiskey, the Triple W. And yes, so this Glengoyne, anything you tell us about it other than it being just absolutely delicious, very light, and great for a summer's evening?
Nope. It's delicious.
I would summarize it by saying, get you some.
That's right. If you can find it, which you can't.
Yes.
But head to a Vom Fast, and good luck.
Pick up something old and rare.
This is the lucky drops of that bottle, so it's exciting for both of us.
Absolutely. It's sort of like a Cirque du Soleil performer over 80.
That's right.
Sort of old and rare. We're heading to Vegas next week, speaking of which.
Oh, that's right. Speaking of travel, it's been a while for us in podcast land. We've been remiss. Had a lot of travel behind us, a lot of travel ahead of us. Let's see, what have we done this year so far? We have completely moved our YTHQ SE Oversight World Headquarters.
YellowTelescope SE Oversight World Headquarters has moved to, you heard it, we're taking our talents to South Beach.
That's right.
So we moved from fabulous South Miami, a lovely place, had a lovely time there for many, many years, and decided to be a little closer to your home and my own.
Indeed.
And really be in a place that we love, and that is South Beach. We're now located just off of Lincoln Road, so if you're ever here visiting, older relatives, on vacation, hitting the Fontainebleau, hitting up the Ritz, the W, etc., make sure you look us up and come see us at near the SLS. We're walking distance, like a block away from the Raleigh, one of my favorite hotels, but great new headquarters. We're at the WeWork, which is great as well.
Yeah.
So we're really really settled in. Got a great new yellow telewall up. Come and see it. Got to visit. There's so much history on the wall.
So much.
What else? So we did that. We've been traveling too. I know I mentioned I've been to New Orleans twice, once for the ASCRS ASOA event, which was great. We gave 11 messages, 11 hours of talks. We think more than anyone else in the entire program, attended by, I don't know, between 4,000 and 7,000 people. So we're honored to do that. Had a great, successful booth there.
That's right.
Got to eat some amazing meals. Of course, I went back separately from that for Jazz Fest, which was our concert for this year, which was great.
Wish I could have attended.
Got to see Van Morrison, which was an amazing thing for me, and the Chili Peppers and Pearl Jam for the second or third or fourth or eighth time, and a few other really great people. You know, all your jazz legends and Dr. Jon and others. What else have we done? I did St. Thomas for a little vacation, which was great. I highly recommend it. Jet setting between islands. Wow, you've been busy working. I've been on vacation. I went to Philadelphia for my college reunion. Quakers.
I was also recovering.
I was unaware from what?
What with a procedure?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Shocker. I just thought you were busy with work.
No. I was very busy with work, but I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Had the back surgery.
You literally are back.
Literally back.
Ed needed a full bacchiotomy.
Full back. That's what the doctor said. And got it taken care of, straight as an arrow.
Yeah, Ed's back was literally screwed.
Yeah, literally screwed. I was sort of like went from training a client into not being able to walk. That's literally how committed we are.
Yeah, like in under a week.
Yeah.
Back into training a client, into training another client. So you've been training your new clients in ophthalmology and Aventura, which is great.
Yep.
I think you just got back from Dallas as well.
Got it.
With a plastics client. I have been here.
That's right.
Although I was out in San Fran as well. I did start with a great new client in San Francisco. We're off to a great start, booking crazy percentages already, which is outstanding.
Really outstanding.
Impacting businesses. So I don't know where else we've been. I'm heading to Vegas next week with you.
Yep.
We're going to DC 2 weeks after that with you. Those are for Vegas Multi-Specialty and the ASBS Super Symposium inaugural, or I think second annual event, which will be great.
It's going to be super.
And then we got a couple of breaks in there, which is good. I'm heading up to New York for about 3 weeks over the summer, doing a little bit of work and a little bit of play with the family.
Oh yeah, I'm going to join you there, sure.
Indeed. So look, who isn't Hamptoning? Hamptoning?
Hamptoning?
Yeah, we're the least cool people in Hampton.
It's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, if you're in the Hamptons, look us up.
Now, I think we also have what is this?
Our second taste today.
What service is this
from? Is actually a couple things to mention as we dive in. For those of you guys in YouTube land, you can see it. And those of you guys in podcast land, you can hear it. We have today a Van Brunt Stillhouse Rye Whiskey. It's a young whiskey, only aged 9 months. So pretty young by whiskey standards and certainly by rye standards. And it's a very, very small 50 centiliter bottle.
Yep.
This is actually from Mashbox, mashbox.com. It was actually a gift for me. Mother-in-law for the holidays got me a subscription.
Is that a band from the 90s?
Yeah. Hey now, you're an all-star. Put your hat on. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Thank you. Great gift.
Yeah, great gift. So they send you, little tastes of different things. So I got a vodka infused with honey and herbs, which I'll never drink, but maybe my wife will, or I'll serve it to someone like you. And we got an absinthe, which I really like for an absinthe wash and a proper Sazerac.
Yes.
And then a rye, which is also typically used in a Sazerac. In fact, it's typically Sazerac brand rye.
Correct.
But a rye is probably most closely associated with a bourbon. Only a bourbon usually think of something more sweet and American, and this is more spicy and typically American. So,
spicy American.
Yeah, most of your rye is made in Indiana and then aged by High West in Utah, or aged in whatever city, or it goes down the Bourbon Trail. This one's actually out of Red Hook, Brooklyn, which is interesting. So I had never tried it, and we're going to try it today. I thought it'd be fun, so give a little publicity to Van Brunt Stillhouse Rye Whiskey,
absolutely,
as well as Mashbox, because it's a lot of fun.
They've earned it.
Ooh.
There we are. Just really nice. It's a perfect double dram.
So there it is. And if we run out of this, we also have, and again, hopefully sort of a nice summer spicy beverage. Shouldn't be, it's pretty young, so it might have a little alcohol burn, but it shouldn't be extremely rich, extremely complex, many layers, or be sort of a winter drink. It should be sort of a summery rye if there is one.
Just sort of a...
We'll see. I may be wrong.
Simple whiskey for a simple man.
There's only some accounting for taste. Really taste the spice.
A lot of citrus. Taking a little orange peel.
Absolutely. Tastes like orange peel.
Yep.
Sort of an orange zest.
Yep.
And spice. It's almost like a spiced fruit or apricot or something in that range.
It's bright.
All right, we're boring the non-hardcores with this. So let's dive in a little bit. We've got one more whiskey to introduce a little bit later. We want to talk today about, we're calling it culture part 1, but specifically dealing with challenging employees and sort of beginning the process, the early stages of changing office culture. I know that with our practices that we work with here at YellowTelescope, it seems that maybe 75 or 80% are really sipping the Kool-Aid from minute one.
Yep.
They got high-powered, high-level employees who are craving growth, who are excited about learning new things, who understand our process works, and jump on board and say, hey, let's do it, high fives all around, and we get that immediate buy-in from everybody. And that's a great culture, but the reality is that culture is intact, so we're just building upon that and growing results, whether it's through sales, organization, or management, or whatever else it might be. We also find that maybe a quarter or so of the remaining clients, maybe 20%, have either one or more individuals who are resistant to that change, or that are in a leadership position and really hold the culture back. And the question then is, how do we deal with those sorts of individuals, and how do we deal with the overall office culture over a period of time? If we were to start off with a few different examples of challenges that we've seen over the last year or two within some of the practices we work with, and we'll talk a little bit about 2 or 3 quick tips you can take back to your practice to kind of begin that process if you're not lucky enough to have already hired YellowTelescope to do it for you.
Absolutely.
And of course with you, because nothing's done alone.
No, we're partners.
So what are a couple things that you've kind of seen, just some quick examples?
Well, so for example, there's obviously a number of processes oftentimes as you change the practice, or maybe you have a little bit of help with, again, from us or somebody else, and maybe it's even just a new process of how to transfer the phone calls. All of a sudden, maybe it makes more sense, of course we think it typically does, to have a new patient phone call be transferred to typically the highest communicator or most skilled communicator in the office, like a patient care coordinator or
a high-ticket item. If someone's getting a LASIK surgery, or if they're getting a plastic surgery, or they're getting dental implants, or something that's really going to cost money. Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want somebody that's going to be able to build some rapport with the patient, who's going to be able to build a relationship, accurately give some good information about the practice and the doctors and the procedures, recovery, give them the information about the pricing, maybe test the waters a little bit with what their time frame might be, really coach them on, be their concierge throughout the entire process.
It seems intuitive. I'm on board with you. Let's do it.
Sounds great. But what if this entire time things have been quote-unquote fine when the receptionist has just been making all the appointments?
So it's a typical thing, and I think we've each seen it more than 5 times.
Sure.
Where it's very much the concept of good is the enemy of great. There's countless doctors that never invest a single dollar in training their people. There's countless managers who never attend a single event. There's countless people who never read a book. And yet, despite that, do okay. Make a good living, or have a successful practice, or succeed in spite of that. And they say that good is the enemy of great, because it's so easy to sit there in the goodness and just say, well, we're doing good.
Yeah.
We're doing well.
Why rock the boat?
Yeah, why kind of burn the bridge in order to strive for great? So if you say we grew last year by 10% anyway, why would we change what we're doing right now? So you see that, yes, a lot with receptionists.
Yeah.
Something that I encounter, which is similar to that, is confusing a good result with doing a whole job. You see this more so with salespeople, although also managers. For example, you might have a patient coordinator or salesperson within your practice who essentially doesn't follow the rules. Maybe they show up late regularly, and maybe they're not dressed appropriately, and maybe they're not taking notes in the computer system, or creating to-do tasks, or providing proper follow-up post-surgery to the patient to make sure they're happy, or isn't collecting testimonials, or isn't collecting post-op photos for something cosmetic. And their argument would be, well, John, sure, maybe that'd be fine, perfect world, but hey, there's no time, which of course there's always time. Or their argument would be, I sold $7 million last year, I sold $1 million last year, so I'm obviously doing everything right, otherwise how would I put this number up, not realizing that that's good being the enemy of great, that you actually could be doing a lot better, you're succeeding in spite of missing all these other things. And the job isn't just to close the sale no matter what, the job is to actually provide a holistic service from beginning to end in return for that bonus or income that you're earning on an annual basis or monthly basis. Anything else?
Nope. Yes, in fact, how much time do we have? I mean, there's
part 1.
So many examples that we could go through with regard to, how there's going to be a little bit of pushback when trying to implement change in order to make it more of a holistic approach to growing the practice, for example.
Right. I find that even managers sometimes get a little set in their ways. I think we've all been guilty of it. It doesn't mean the manager's a bad person or a poor leader, but again, if they're achieving results as an office, they sometimes miss the day-to-day minutia, and because they're thinking too macro. Maybe they don't ever leave their office. I've seen that a lot with the managers where they never manage by walking around. MBWA, we always preach.
Yep.
That throughout the day, yes, there's times to run reports and there's times to do computer work, but you also have to be having your one-on-one meetings with the team, with each member of the team each week. You need to be having a weekly powwow with your team. You need to be looking for opportunity even when you have a record-breaking month and planning so that you don't get caught by a bad month. But at the end of the day, they sit down and they say, well, gosh, I don't think we need any help. We're up $100,000 year over year. And the answer is, well, that's good, but we've been hired to help you do great, and we're trying to change that culture. So that maybe sets the ground rules for some things that you, or some examples, I'd say, that maybe you've encountered out there in podcast land or other similar things. The question then is, well, great, this all sounds, familiar.
Fine, sure, seen it a million times. What do I do about it, right? So how do you even help?
Stay tuned for podcast culture number 2, starring Ed Searing alone, because I have no idea. I've been trying for about 15 years. I just...
Hang in there, buddy.
All right.
You're really doing great. Hey, where are you going? Come on back here. So, until John gets back, stick with me here, folks.
I was bluffing. It was one of those things you do just for effect.
Should play poker with this guy. It's unbelievable.
Tight aggressive.
So, tell us a little bit about exactly how you've seen some of the pushback and what maybe some of the stages are to get the person actually through that, and some of the tips you might see in order to provide the unified front.
Absolutely, Ed. Thanks so much for asking. I love the feather in the hat.
You notice that? You can't see it on this side. Yeah.
It's a New Orleans favorite. One of the things that we did, by the way, in New Orleans.
To do what, though? What was part of the reason that we did that?
Well, because Ed and the team achieved a goal.
Well, that's correct, but also I was tying it back into the actual podcast topic, which was, it was a really good team building experience. A small thing to do while out of the office, while at an event, successful event, celebrating, and thanks to one John Hofferberg for the generous payout, but also, let's go pick out some hats together in one of the nation's oldest, most revered haberdashers. And here we are, hence the fedora.
Which is why we are shamelessly promoting Meyer the Hatter next to perhaps my favorite gentleman's store in America, Rubenstein's.
That's right.
Where we all got hats. So yeah, we're going to actually talk about that, I think, in a future podcast, which are what are some of the things that you can do to actually build the culture to a next level once you've got the basics. So for example, taking everybody, setting a contest, winning a contest, taking people out in New Orleans on a night on the town and buying everybody hats they'll remember for a long time is a great idea, but not at this stage with a practice where we're just trying to affect some change and can't even get buy-in.
Really? Because I was actually thinking maybe the first thing is to just take everybody out and buy a new hat.
Well, it's a very common mistake as well, which actually states that with newer employees, one of the number one things that you should do, according to situational leadership, is that these people in general, when they're brand new, need direction. They don't need kudos. They don't need high fives, but they need to be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And too often, practice owners and leadership tend to just say nice things to people when they're brand new, which comes across as disingenuous because they haven't actually done anything yet.
Yep.
So let's talk, though, a little bit about the topic at hand.
Indeed.
What do you do, or what is the typical psychology that most people go through? Well, what's interesting, to kind of preface this, is that those people who tend to give us at YellowTelescope the least pushback, the offices where we get the most done quickest with the best results, counterintuitively are those offices that we actually staff first, where we help to fill the position, maybe their practice manager, patient coordinator, COO, whatever, before we start working with the practice. That doesn't mean we don't get unbelievable or almost similar results with every practice over the long run. If you take the curve out a year. But early on, we actually get pushback from people who are existing. And the reason for that is that you have to understand that people who have already been in a role doing a certain thing for a period of time are set in their ways.
Yep.
I think we all are. We all have habits and rituals and things that we're used to doing, and change is difficult. So when you do place someone new into the role, even though they take more training to get up to speed, they actually are open to that training. And so when you think about going into any new practice, or if you think about changing the culture within your own existing practice, you have to change the culture step by step, slowly but surely. And the first step to that is understanding their psychology. And your employees in general, some are lucky enough to be positive, on board, craving the change, and the right kinds of people. Those are the people you definitely want around. But it doesn't mean we give up on people who have a little bit of initial pushback. There is some point where there's good turnover, where someone's unwilling to change. great. They'll get Mervined out if you listen to that podcast.
That's right.
If they're not willing to type on a computer or be positive to patients, of course, there's a point where they have to go. But early pushback isn't the end of the world. So let's talk a little bit about that psychology. So step one is skepticism.
Yep.
The first thing that they do as an employee is say, well, I doubt this worked because I've seen a bunch of other things tried and they never stick. My doctor hired someone else and it didn't work. Or my doctor has a lot of ideas and he tried to make change last time. Or I already have been here long enough to know that there's no better way out there. So they first are skeptical. Once the training begins, if you implement an idea with them, the next stage is to listen, pretend they're listening, and then to ignore. To see if it'll go away, because again, they believe that change has been suggested in the past, that not only will it not work, but it won't be reinforced. So skepticism,
for example,
then ignoring.
Yep. So if you're speaking to someone and saying, even through a training exercise, talking about the pattern with which you need to bring in a new patient, for example, and then trying to gain their commitment and saying, does that make sense? Think you can do that? Does that sound good? You comfortable with that?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll give it. Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
You kind of. So we go from skepticism to nodding with ignoring.
That's right.
The third stage is if you stick with it, as we'll talk about later. If you reinforce it and come back to it, check up on that result. Well, at that point, what you get is flat out disagreement and negativity. I tried it. It doesn't work.
Yep.
I've already given it a good college try. I've already done what you've asked. It doesn't work.
Oftentimes prematurely. It's
usually without them even trying it.
Right. It's sort of I gave it a try. It's been 3 days already. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I did your phone call once.
Yeah.
That you guys taught. That didn't work.
Didn't work.
And I know you said it'd be better if I was here on time, but I got here at 8:55 yesterday, and there was no calls between 9 and 9:05. Turns out, didn't need to be on time.
Yep.
Just wasting your money because you're paying me hourly, so I lost. I wasted your money.
Yeah.
So they start to sell you on why you're wrong, and then the last step is to go to someone else.
Yep.
So they go to the manager, and the manager says, nope, we're going to keep doing this. It's going to be reinforced. They then go to, when mommy says no, they go to daddy. Or go from daddy says no, they go to mommy, and they go to either the business owner or someone else in leadership, and they try to create a separation and break everyone up so that it goes away.
Yep.
If you get through those stages, which is skepticism, nodding and ignoring, flat out disagreement, and then essentially going to mommy and then daddy.
That's right.
At that point, they realize that change is happening with or without them, and then we get to what I call Kool-Aid stage, which means they start sipping the Kool-Aid, they start getting on board, and change is effective. And if that doesn't happen, it's time for them to go. Now, in our experience, the number of people that we've actually had to literally let go or make a suggestion, I've got to assume there's been someone over an 8-year career, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Maybe one or two people, and those are very, very rare cases where those people, in general, I hate to say it, but they tend to be bad eggs.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a good employee somewhere else, maybe they're a good person deep down, but they really are so against the concept of change that they're willing to literally sabotage it. And there's almost a level of sociopathy that gets involved where they're just unwilling and unable to see how other people are feeling and how it affects the business and why they need to be a team player. So it's very, very rare, but it exists.
Luckily rare.
So that's psychological what we're doing. What I was hoping we could do kind of to touch on the topic is talk about how do we overcome that and what is that process in action?
Yep. So if somebody's actually, for example, skeptical, and they start thinking about maybe some of the reasons why it's not going to work or why it's always worked, and trying to give you some pushback on why we shouldn't do things, and maybe even derailing the conversation, giving examples that aren't even congruent with even the topic at hand, for example. So somebody says, well, I like you just said a second ago, I was late once, but then I came in early one day and it actually didn't have any benefit at all.
Yeah.
Or saying I was late once, but because of that, I was able to come in and see a different patient, and I never would have done that had I not been late.
Yeah. I was a half hour early the other day, so the fact that I was a half hour late today, no big deal.
Really balances
evens out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saved a life, and I shot one guy, but I still saved a life, so I'm even with the man upstairs. Well.
Nah, not quite, but yeah. So,
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, so keep talking about what you're talking about. Make sure to bring the conversation.
Which reminds me, on Thursday...
John.
Yes?
Sir.
I really like your hat.
Thank you, by the way, but let's keep talking
This
about what
whiskey,
we're
by the way, you
about.
really know your whiskey. I'm
Let's
very
keep talking
impressed.
about
You're
what
so
we're talking about.
stylish.
No, it's the hat, mostly. It's a lie.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying keep talking about what you're talking about.
Correct. Make sure you actually keep them focused on exactly why things matter, and just if they start talking about something else, bring it always back to the fact that you're late.
It's interesting that this is one of the great things I've learned in management throughout all my years is, I think it was taught to me as keeping the main thing the main thing. Obviously, one of the tips is that you should be managing in the moment. You don't want to let things build up for weeks and months and then drop 13 things an employee is doing wrong on their shoulders in a meeting, because it really feels terrible. Like, well, why didn't you tell me? I didn't realize I was doing these things wrong.
Yeah,
and some of it's subconscious. When people make these mistakes, they don't necessarily know they're being a bad employee, or they're doing something that you don't prefer. They just are like being themselves, and they think they're being honest. They're just trying to do their best. But because they're being defensive, they're just not in the moment to hear. So in that moment, you got to manage in the moment, and then when you do, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. And as Ed said, you got to keep talking about what you're talking about. So I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with my own team members as well as others. I'm sure Ed has as well with his clients and the people that report to him, where, again, let's take that receptionist example. Hey, Susie, and of course we always Oreo cookie and start with something positive. First of all, Ed, I think you're doing a great job overall. I just want to let you know that. I was hoping I could grab you for a couple minutes right now to talk about a couple of minor things. You have a minute?
Sure.
Great. Well, as I had mentioned, you're doing a great job in terms of your sales results. They're through the roof. I know you've been pitching and answering the phones and so forth. I think the team's really getting along with you as well. So I want to let you know you're doing a lot right. I did want to have this conversation because there's one or two minor things I wanted to address. And the biggest one is, look, I don't try to be a FaceTime guy. I'm not trying to nitpick, but, because you're in charge of answering the phones and managing the people that do, when you're late, they see you be late. And more important than that, the phones don't ring at 9:05. They ring at 8:58, 9:01. So we've got to make sure that we're at our desk by 8:55. So I know that twice this week you were a little bit late, and I'm not mad about it. It's not the end of the world. I don't want you to stress about it, but moving forward, it cannot happen. Do you feel fairly comfortable with that? I just kind of wanted to address it with you and be honest with you versus having it bother me and not address it.
Well, I know there was that one time, but I'm early often, and so most of the time I even stay late. So usually I thought because I stay late, that would actually make sure.
So again, now this individual right now, it's talking about something different. He's not keeping the main thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to address and I'm going to acknowledge what he's saying, but I'm also going to keep talking about what I'm talking about. So, Ed, well, first of all, hey, look, I get that. And look, no one is questioning your work ethic. The fact that you stay late on occasion, it isn't expected. It's great that you do it, and we appreciate it. But to be honest, it's not actually the topic right now. We could talk about whether you should or shouldn't stay late a little bit later. But what I'm saying is whether you stay till midnight or whether you leave at 5 p.m. sharp on any given day, that phone's ringing by 9, and people are watching you as a mentor. So when you show up late, it's not an option. I just want to make sure. So again, without being too forward, are you hearing what I'm saying on this?
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying.
Okay, you are awesome. Cool. Well, that's it. That's it. It's not a big deal. I've been late in my life. Look, and if you have an emergency, you can call. Things are going to happen once a year. I get it. The dog starts throwing up, things change. But in general, this needs to be something that's 0% of the time without a call, and very rarely in general. So we're on the same page?
Yeah, we're on the same page.
And again, I don't want this to set you off for the day. Look, across the board, you're doing a phenomenal job. Everybody's loving your work. You're doing a great job. Cool?
Okay. Yeah, we're cool.
All right, fist bumps.
Awesome.
All right, buddy.
Boom.
So again, that person still doesn't leave that conversation happy. Nobody likes feedback. Nobody likes criticism, but I'm keeping the main thing the main thing. A more common example I see in more of our practices that sell a lot of elective business and they're looking for close ratio and sales is the confusion between selling for selling's sake and actually doing the job well. So I thought maybe in this case you could address me when I'm some of the salespeople that we've worked with nationally.
But you've never been like that.
No, me, no. I've always been perfect.
Okay.
I was a pleasure to work with at a young age. That's why I'm in leadership right now. I've always been perfect at my job.
As long as you can act well, this will go great.
Indeed.
So
my name is Kennesaw Buford Amber Smith. At your service. Is there any reason you wouldn't wish to move forward today, Mrs. Anderson?
Oh, with a drawl like that, how could I say no?
All right, so great.
Just wanted to mention you're doing great. I think consistently you're obviously the go-to when it comes to our top leads and things.
Yeah, I sold like over 250,000 last month, right? Awesome,
absolutely,
boss man. I totally rocked it.
High five.
Do you see my commission check, by the way?
Yeah, I cut it.
I'm killing it,
and I know. And that's like I said, everything is great. When we get the great leads, everything's going to go to you. And you're our number one. You get the first right of refusal and that stuff.
Awesome. No, I'm really excited about that. That's great.
But when it comes to some of the particular procedures that we're trying to do, you heard about the new service that we have, and we're really trying to promote that a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to make sure that you're still focused on the new services, not
Are you talking about the sculpture?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that new machine. It's like a CoolSculpt, and I mean, it's really good. I mean, the marketing for it isn't as good as CoolSculpt yet. It's good. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good. I mean, I love the machine, and if people ask about it, I mean, I'm going to promote it, but right now I'm getting a lot of leads for CoolSculpt, and I don't know, I mean, I had basically my second best month ever last month, so.
Right. Absolutely, and like I said, you're doing great, but the topic has really got to be sculpture. So what we want to also see is a little bit more of the conversion of even some of the CoolSculpt, depending on the right candidacy for the patient who might be interested in the sculpture, just some of that additional promotion. So keep doing the CoolSculpt.
What am I supposed to hit? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to sell a certain number or something? Or?
Well, what we want to make sure is that you're actually increasing the goals for the sculpture as well. So we know we have our CoolSculpt goals. Uh-huh. We want to make sure we're also hitting the goals for sculpture.
Okay.
So have we put those together yet?
Yeah, well, I think you had set a goal of like 30,000 for this month for sculpture, and like I said, I already hit 60,000 in CoolSculpt.
Right.
So, I mean, that's awesome.
It is awesome. You're absolutely right, and we want to maintain that. But when it comes to the sculpture, I think that we also
and that
have
one
a
lady called
opportunity.
back. That one lady called me back too,
right,
which is great.
No, and we always are going to get callbacks. And on another podcast, we've actually talked about the availability heuristic. But what I'm talking about right now is the actual sculpture, because I know we're always going to get CoolSculpt, and we've been working on that for a while.
We should totally have pop-up video bubbles right here for like that last podcast.
That's right.
I'm going to stay in character though. Go ahead.
Okay, I really like the voice. So, like I was saying, as far as the sculpture is concerned, we really need to promote it because long term, this is the new technology. We think it's actually almost going to replace CoolSculpt, at least in our practice. And so, going forward, I just want to make sure that you're on board to actually promote it.
So you want me to keep focused on that goal and try to hit that 30K number. So you're saying, if I understand, so it's not really about the total sales, but you just want to make sure that we're making the progress so that over the next year we're on point with it?
Well, especially even if you killed it with CoolSculpt, couldn't you kill it with sculpture?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'm going to kill it with sculpture.
Are we on the same page?
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, I'm going to try to hit the 30K, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time. I'm going to put an email blast together for it.
That would be good.
And I know what we could do is I'm going to switch, I'm going to do an event. Can we do an event?
We could. Let's be careful to make sure it's planned correctly.
Well, I'm thinking 6 weeks if I plan it and execute it, do the email blast. I'm going to add to my to-do list to follow up with my regulars. I got a list of 25 that love me and do everything.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm going to make that a priority for next month.
I like the proactivity.
Thank you. Fist bumps.
High five. Fist bump. High five. the claw. It's called the claw.
So in these extremely entertaining examples, what we're trying to do is manage by keeping the main thing the main thing. And we actually change and shift the culture by doing this because people, again, consciously sometimes, and probably more often subconsciously, are thinking of their own answers to the objection you're giving them instead of listening to what you're saying. And the reality is they're in sales mode or business mode or save their job mode. And when people feel threatened, if they feel like their job is on the line, their income is on the line, if you're attacking their work, even if it's the most gentle criticism, a lot of the people who have the biggest challenges do have a very, very high level of aversion to even the most gentle criticism, and they're just people wired that way, good or bad. And in those cases, they're going to go on the defense. And when that wall goes up and they go on the defense, it takes them a little while to keep hearing the same thing 2 or 3 or 4 times before they realize that you're talking about what you're talking about, not what they're talking about. And until they're talking about what you're talking about, you're going to keep talking about what you're talking about. You're going to keep the main thing the main thing.
Keep the main thing
so
the
at the
main
end
thing.
of this, when you think about culture shift, when we talk about YellowTelescope, oftentimes with a tenured employee, we have to get used to utilizing the computer system. Mm-hmm. Part of being a great salesperson is selling, but part of it is also notating, protecting your doctor legally, and doing other things. When it comes to a front office receptionist, part of the job is answering the phone, but part of it's being on time, having a high level of customer service, taking notes, sending email messages, and informing everybody in a timely manner. Mm-hmm. Part of being a great nurse is customer service and keeping a happy patient, but part of it in some offices may be gently suggesting new procedures. And in this way, we're actually shifting culture by having firm, friendly, fair conversations, but we don't get off our topic because we know we're logically correct.
Now,
let's open a new whiskey.
Yes.
For our third and final whiskey of the night, we have something which I don't think has appeared on a podcast yet.
It's not Macri less.
We've gone through 2 very light, I wouldn't say light, because a rye isn't per se light, but I like it on a summer's evening. Personally, I don't love a really saccharine, sweet bourbon, although a lot of people drink that on a summer's evening. And I really do like a Glengoyne or some of your space sides that are very, very gentle. Even a simple Glenlivet 12, which is probably not the most expensive bottle, tastes really, really good. It's sort of the a high-end Bud Light, if you will, sort of the Yingling, just a gentle American lager of Scotland and Speyside, which I love as well. And what this is an Arran malt. Arran is not a typically traditionally peaty whiskey, but this, for those of you guys who like that peat whiskey, you like the peaty smokiness, but you maybe want something that's a little more summery, this is a great option because it has just 14 parts per million of peat. And to give you an example, we're at the Ardbeg night on Wednesday. All the Ardbegs are generally
over 100.
Well, it's 65 is the Ardbegs, but if you go with something like a Bruichladdich Octomore, or I can't remember the name of the one they were talking about from Ardbeg, but they had distilled some at over 100 parts per million. So this is something like a fifth as peaty, and so you still get a little bit of that smoke, but you also get a little bit of a lighter, younger whiskey. Not my very favorite of all time, but a nice tasty whiskey for those who want a little bit of smoke without making you feel like you have to have a cigar and be surrounded by rich leather-bound books.
It's sort of like I just sipped this in a campfire. Not near, in it.
Yeah, incidentally, I'm finishing a bottle that I bought 4, 5, 6 years ago. It's really been a challenge to get it. It's very tasty, but it's so overwhelming. It's called the Leviathan 2, which it's a Leviathan. It's sort of like one of the evil characters from X-Men, like Apocalypse, basically made of whiskey. It's just
Wow.
just a lot of wood in your face.
Okay.
Not 100% sure that came out the way you wanted to.
You never know. Went blue there, just like your sunglasses. Cheers, buddy. Now, speaking of cheers, I think it really lends itself to creating a unified front. So, going back to the previous example, let's say your salesperson decides, yeah, sure, they're on board. Like we said earlier, nodding. Okay, I can do that. Sure, we'll put together.
Which is usually the second stage. After they are skeptical, they then nod and ignore. Then the third stage is going to be flat out disagreeing.
Yep.
And then we're getting to the stage I think you're talking about, which is, okay, you basically told them as the consultant, as the manager, as the owner, we're moving forward with this idea. We've bought the new machine and we're going to sell it. We've hired a new person who is your boss, and I know you don't want a new boss, but we believe in them and you need to report to them and you need to be positive. Or we've hired a consultant and I know that there's going to be some change and nobody wants change, and I get you've been here 20 years, but hey, a couple things are going to change, you need to be on board with it. And they flat out say to your face, well, I just don't think this is a smart idea and I'm not happy about it and I'm going to go home angry. Well, what do we know is about to happen next? Once you say, tough luck, move forward or move on.
Well, they're going to go to the next person in the practice, who is either the next person right below or right above them, who's sort of in that position of power, whether it's from the manager to the owner of the business, or from the owner of the business to the manager.
Or from one consultant to the next consultant, or from the consultant to the doctor, or it doesn't matter.
That's right. And try to talk the rest of them out of it and say, this isn't working, is it? And try to get that agreement from them. And sometimes they actually will, or get the sort of questioning. And so it's very
I'd like to call actually a meeting when it's convenient for you, because I've got a couple of important topics to talk about.
I'd actually like to talk about some of the new sales processes, specifically the one with the new consultants.
Look, and I just wanted to be clear that I'm on time over 90% of the time. So I just wanted to have a meeting about whether or not I'm on time or not.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people are questioning my work ethic.
Could be.
And I know I've worked here over 3 months, and I'm just a little bit concerned that no one trusts me to take cash alone up front. And look, if you guys don't trust me, let me know, but I still think I should be taking $50,000 or $100,000 in cash up front.
Well,
but I'd like to call a meeting about it.
Stevie, I'm glad you brought this to my attention, but I've spoken to the doctor about it, and we both agree that we're going to move forward with this actual change. And we're going to see, I know it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but eventually I know it's really going to make a huge benefit for the entire practice, and your whole job's going to be a little bit easier because of it. So can we count you in to get on board?
So what are we doing right here? So it looks like I'm at a decision point. It sounds to me like if I say no, I might have some serious issues.
Well, at this point, I think as the management, you also have to be comfortable understanding that you do have the goal, and this train's moving, and we really, really hope everybody comes on board to take this journey with us. We're not moving so fast, we're not peeling out of the station, but we're moving in one direction. And you better jump on board and make sure you come along with us, or else you might get left behind.
So what's interesting is because this is the fourth or fifth stage, and because these things have been addressed ad nauseum, when the individual goes from mommy to daddy or daddy to mommy, what we have to make sure we take away from this podcast is that you have to present a united front. Now, sometimes united front's easy because it's just the doctor-owner or something simple, but other times you might have a doctor and a manager that have to be completely in agreement. Or it may be the doctor and the patient coordinator have to be in agreement about something the manager does, which can sometimes be very difficult. But you have to create a united front from all people around you, because I definitely believe in management that the idea of that we have to be fair weather fans. I'm a complete fair weather fan. With my team, we are a what have you done for me lately business. If Ed does not sign one deal for the next 10 years, it's no different than me giving Ed no more money for the next decade. He loves the job. You and I will hopefully be together forever and ever. But if you end up not making any money, at some point you're going to get a new job. And if you end up delivering nothing and punching everyone in the face, at some point you got to go. Same thing's really true of me. If I don't deliver, my business goes under and everybody's out of luck. So everybody has the same rules. And so everybody has, no one's completely indispensable, even though everybody deserves some loyalty. And to me, loyalty means being willing to grow and evolve. And so when you create a united front where they go to mommy or daddy and they agree, and they say, I'm with you, I'll do it, then they start to sip the Kool-Aid. And once you start sipping, they actually realize the change is good. I know with YellowTelescope processes, we have, no one's perfect, but in terms of our sales process, we believe that essentially any practice that sticks with it, at the end of that first year, no one ever turns back. No one's like, oh, this is a terrible idea. Didn't work at all for me. I just don't believe that's the case in any practice that I can recall ever. So we know the process works. And some of the other things are simple organizational things, like how about you stop writing everything on sticky notes? I mean, we know for sure we're right that when we type things and we use a computer, we're much more efficient. It's also 2016. It's time to say goodbye to the fax. It's time to stop using sticky notes. Now, we know that's hard for people, harder for some than others, but once they make the change and they actually start sipping the Kool-Aid, they'll be on board with us. So part of it is picking decisions you know are right, having people to consult with, whether it's us or a non-paid source that or helps, underscore that rightness. And then sticking with it and believing in it and seeing it through. Because time feels slow, but it's passing quick. I always say, a day with my son can be a long day because you're out in the sun and you're running and you're sweating. It's a long 13-hour day. You enjoy every minute of it. You're like, wow, that was a long day. Then you look back and a year's passed and you miss how could he be so old? And similarly, it works that way. People will try something new. They're like, we're going to completely overhaul our sales structure. We're going to completely overhaul our process for the front office. And within 4 days, 3 people are like, this doesn't work. You're like, well, we need you to commit to 90 days.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you have to create the united front and just stick with it, be absolutely confident in it, and you will actually see at that stage, it's darkest before dawn, because they actually look you in the eye and they realize it's that I make a small change. So this is the end thing in their mind, just to kind of get to a point psychologically. Psychologically, at this point, they've gone through all those levels and all those layers. They look the individual in the eye and they say to myself, so I can either make a relatively minor small change that will likely benefit me, or my job may be on the line. The answer is abso-effing-lutely.
Yep.
And it's funny, when confronted with that logical decision, they're like, well, the decision isn't that difficult. It's not that bad. They're not asking me to sell my firstborn here. They're asking me to be more organized or sell a little bit better or whatever, or learn something. You know what? Maybe these guys aren't so bad. And it's funny, within a week or 2 or 3, they're the people who are selling the junior employees, saying, oh, I went through the same thing as you and I've been through it and it's not that easy, but just stick with me and I'm with them. And you then have that talk with them about how proud you are of them, and it changes your culture. And it changes your strategy moving forward. And then you can even reward them in some way, which is probably a topic for a different podcast.
Hats. Always buy them hats.
If I hadn't won the sales contest, why would I be wearing this hat? Of course I hit it. He literally got a feather in his cap.
That's right. Actually, another feather in the cap.
Very nice.
Thank you, sir. I think that really well sums it up.
This has been great.
Yeah.
I think summarily, what do we have going on? What's coming up?
My goodness, what don't we have coming up? We've got Vegas next week. We've got DC 2 weeks after that. We've got Los Angeles coming up after that. We've got Nashville coming up after that. Our very own 6th annual flagship event, the YellowTelescope Training Seminar.
So excited. Already outsold last year.
Can you see the fountain blue behind us?
I can see it. I don't know if we're going to end up there. It's one of the top 2 finalists for our 6th annual.
It always makes me think of the seminar, the fountain blue. I don't know. Just
Loved it. It was a beautiful event. Well, what we can tell you is all those cities equate to places we'll be speaking. So you'll probably see this after the Las Vegas Multi-Specialty Show, but many thanks to the host there for allowing us to speak and be on faculty again for the 6th year, to ASPS Super Symposium in D.C. 2 weeks thereafter. You might catch this before that event. Look us up if you're going to be there.
Tip of the hat to you.
7 different messages we're going to be
Thank you.
giving on a variety of topics. From there, beyond that, Nashville is AAFPRS, the American Academy of Facial Vascular Reconstructive Surgery. We're going to be speaking a number of times there in their new format. We're excited about that.
Yep.
We'll be out in LA for ASPS, the meeting, and of course, as you mentioned. So that means we're going to have some podcasts coming up. We might even record one next week. So if you haven't downloaded our complimentary newsletter, they're free. They're chock full of information. We have a lot of guest writers recently.
Yeah, a lot of
Instead
fun
of it just
topics.
being yours truly,
That's
it's
right.
been you truly.
That's right.
And John Barry truly. You got to look up our SEO Oversight one that John Barry wrote that basically talks about pay-per-click advertising as it relates to stuffed animals.
Yeah.
No joke. That's what it's about.
Yep.
And it's excellent.
It was great.
We had one recently on new product introductions.
That's right.
I'm writing one right now actually about the topic we just talked about, underscoring, going into a little more detail on some of the things we spoke about. So download our newsletter. It's for free on YellowTelescope.com, SEOversight.com. Subscribe to this podcast by looking for Yellow Telescope in the iTunes or Google Play Store.
All one word.
Yellow Telescope, all one word. And shoot us a message, info at Yellow Telescope, Guardian SEO Oversight, and a bunch of hashtags.
A lot of
It's
hashtags.
been good talking.
Social media.
Social. Yeah. Oh, we didn't even mention that. We
Yeah.
can do your social media if you need help. Ice Cream Social Media.
Do you? I know I do.
Cheers.
Cheers. Here's to you.
Play us out, Sam.
I do like this one. Mm-hmm. I do.
It's got a taste to it.
It doesn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So,
That's
so
another-
lightly peated.
It's only 14.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are called Peter, but this one's just called Pete. Sort of lightly peated.
Sort of for short.
Kennesaw, Buford, Amber Smith, at your service.
At your service.
Chastity Briarthorne.
Take us out, Chastity.